Rambo: Last Blood is the final Rambo film in the Rambo franchise that I don't think really should have been a franchise from what I've heard about the first film. Granted, this is my first Rambo movie, so I have no idea. And this film once again stars Sylvester Stallone as John Rambo, and we see him as his begrudgingly old man living on a farm, being kind of a Stallone cowboy, if you will. And the film focuses on Rambo going on the hunt to find his daughter? Daughter? Yes, I believe so. They don't make it quite clear, but I think kind of a metaphorically adopted daughter, in a sense. I know it sounds weird. But to rescue her from a Mexican cartel that has put her into sex trafficking and all the drugs and the bad things that come from that. And he goes on the vicious revenge hunt that you would expect Rambo to go on. And despite this being my first Rambo film, I surprisingly enjoyed it. Now, one thing I will say right off the bat, Stallone, once again, kills it in this film, both literally and metaphorically. His performance was very surprising to me, because from what I've seen and heard about the Rambo films, they're not exactly the most, like, character study or more like character driven of action films. I would barely even call this an action film, to be honest, but seeing like what his character goes through and the journey that he goes on in this film was very surprising. His performance was very nuanced. When it came to like showing emotions, like you didn't really need to necessarily see it to feel it, but even in those like very harsh moments, like you could definitely feel it. And he gave a performance that I was very surprised by of this film, just because I'd seen the trailer and it has a dramatic version of Old Town Road in it, so I wasn't expecting much, but Stallone's performance was probably the most surprising thing in the movie. The story of the film, like I said, is about him going to save his daughter from sex trafficking, and which I did not know that going in, and I was thoroughly surprised by how they really portrayed it and how like dark and horrible and terrible it is. They did not shy away at all from the horribleness of it. So I was very surprised by that, and I think if people see this movie enough, it's going to bring a bigger discussion of that aboard. So I was surprised by that, and I thought they did that very well. But in terms of like really the structure of the story, it feels a bit off. Like for the first like I'd say the first like 3/4 of the movie, it feels like it's a complete movie, but it's still missing stuff in like the middle. And then the last quarter of it is like the big action movie that you expect. So like the first 3/4 is very big drama. It's just mainly drama, with like bits of tiny little action in there, just tiny bits. But the first 3/4 of the movie is basically a drama, and then the last quarter is Home Alone meets Logan. Turn it up to 11, pretty much. If you can imagine that, that's exactly what it is. That's what the last quarter of the film is. But if you're going and expecting the whole film to be like that, you're going to be a bit disappointed, because that's not what it's like. The first 3/4 of the film, I was thoroughly surprised by, and it was done really well. Honestly, I feel like if the film had like just had the tiniest bit more of action in there, like towards the end of that 3/4, and it was just a bit shorter, I think it would have been very impactful. And then but then the last quarter kind of feels a little bit tacked on. Like they needed to put that action in there. Like they read the script and they're like, this is good, but there's not enough action in here. So you gotta put a giant action scene in the film, and then the film just kind of ends. It's like, I know a film was supposed to end, but the way that this film ends, it's like, oh, that was a little bit anticlimactic. I was kind of expecting a little bit more. I don't know. And then the end credits like have a montage of Rambo moments from the movies. I don't know. I feel like that was to make the runtime longer, but the film is almost 2 hours, so I don't know. The action, oh my god. Woo! Yeah, so you know how Logan's very violent? This film is very violent like Logan. Quite brutal. If you are a queasy person that can't deal with violence, especially blood and gore, do not see this movie. You will be running out of the theater in the last quarter. It is violent, brutal. It's Home Alone, but very much rated R, which was kind of surprising. But the traps and everything that he sets up, I've kept getting the vibes of Home Alone, which was weird, but I kind of I know it's weird to say I kind of enjoyed it, but it was kind of entertaining to see like these crazy contraptions that he creates, and just the violence overall is just like, jeez, why? And so like if you're someone that doesn't like violence on film and can't deal with blood and gore, skip this. You'll be better off for it. I'd say the villains of the film could have been like the bit. You see, if it was just the first 3/4 of the film, I feel like the villains that they had set up were good enough, because you don't really necessarily need to know a whole lot about them because of the line of work that they're in. So you already know how like horrible and evil they are, so you don't really need to get any more than that. But then once it goes to that last quarter, it feels like this feels like it is personal, but it also feels like it's a little bit more personal. And that's weird to say, but it just feels like that we're missing something. And then one of the villains wasn't even in the last quarter, or unless I don't know, I might have been seeing something different, but it was just one of them. I don't know if the other one had died earlier and I missed it, or if he had died in the last quarter and I missed it. So I don't know. But I feel like that because of that last quarter of the film, the villains could have been just the tiniest bit of stronger, and it would have made it a bit more impactful. So yeah, I would definitely say probably the biggest flaw of the film is really the way that the film is structured, and then the ending of it. It feels like that there's a definitive moment, like towards the end of the third fourth of the film, that it's like, this is the ending, right? And then it's not, which is like, oh, it's odd, but okay. And then the film keeps going, and it's like, do we need this? Not really, because we don't necessarily need it, but you gotta have that big action scene because Rambo, I mean, the action scene is great. It's done very well, very violent, like I said before. But because of tacking that on at the end, it feels like we're like, they like redid stuff at some point during shooting. They're like, no, we gotta take that out, then we gotta put it there, and then it's not like it was reshot or re-edited as far as I'm aware. It's structurally done very well. But it just feels like that we're missing something in that first 3/4 to make it a complete film, and then you have that ending that feels kind of tacked on, and then that ending just kind of abruptly ends. So yeah, I think as a whole, the real like badness of the film, I can't word, is really just the last quarter of the film. While it's a great action scene, it just kind of messes with the story overall. So yeah, in the end, I found Rambo Last Blood to be a surprisingly good film. Now, I'm not going to say like it's one of the greatest films of all time. No, it's got its flaws, like I've said before. But like as my first Rambo film, it got me interested in the character, and I enjoyed it. It was a good story with good characters that it got me caring about what our hero was doing and the situation that he was thrown into. And then the action as well was done very well. Sylvester Stallone gave a great performance, and I just found it to be very enjoyable. I'm going to give Rambo Last Blood a 7 out of 10. I was really not expecting to like this film that much, but I left like enjoying it. Again, if you're a person that doesn't like bloody, gory violence, don't see this. And if you're someone that's sensitive to the matter of sex trafficking and things like that, I probably would also say avoid this or see this with a group of people. Or if you don't like Rambo, then don't see it. I think that's how that works. But yeah, I found Rambo Last Blood to be a fairly enjoyable film. I probably would see it again, and it makes me want to see the other Rambo films. Alright, so that was my review of Rambo Last Blood. I hope that you all enjoyed that. Make sure you check the links in the description below to check out my From the Cinema reviews. That's my other review show that I have on Mason Cable Network. My most recent review on there was Joker as a discussion with all my friends and stuff, and that was a lot of fun. I hope to see you all there, and I hope to see you back here. Alright, see you guys next time.